Congratulations, you've walked down the aisle in a fancy robe and a hat, you've thrown your cap in the air, you've got your beautiful new degree that says philosophy on it.
Philosophy?
Are you serious?
And now the question is, how on earth are you going to avoid living in a dumpster and actually make money to support yourself in life? In this video, I'm going to be revealing the 10 college degrees that you would have to be an absolute idiot to actually go and get.
What are you, stupid?
The first one might surprise you actually. Culinary arts.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
You might be thinking, like, if you want to become a professional chef, like, of course you need to go to school. But if you look at all the famous chefs in the world, they all got started by going and actually cooking in a kitchen. Gordon Ramsay, Marco Pierre White, they all went and they had their apprenticeship in, the cafes in Paris or wherever else. They did not go to class. They did not study the theory of ingredients or any other nonsense.
You just shut the f*** up for 30 seconds.
They actually just went out in the real world and started cooking. It's one of those things where if you don't have the ability and you don't just go and get the reps, like no amount of studying it is actually going to move it forward. The second degree that you should never, ever, ever study is photography. You know why? Because these crazy little things, maybe you haven't heard of them before, phones. Believe it or not, your phone can do pretty much 90% of the job of a professional photographer. Every photographer I know, anyone who actually makes a living doing photography, they all just started taking photos. They started posting it on the internet. They started getting referrals, and eventually that grew into a legitimate business. The one thing that they all have in common is that absolutely none of them went and studied photography for 4 years. And then they taught themselves how to use Photoshop, which of course the university will say, well, you need to go and study graphic design too. And they will charge you $200,000 to teach you how to use, Photoshop and Illustrator. It's insane. More on that later on in the video, so stay tuned. And like I said, that's an iPhone shooting this. That's an iPhone shooting that. It does 90% of the job. Any stupid person now can take pretty good photos with a decent phone. Number 8, religious studies. Let me just skip to the very end of the book. People don't get along, people have different beliefs, and people like to kill each other.
They will murder you and say, praise the Lord.
That's it. I just gave you 4 years of a religious studies degree, and I did it in about 15 seconds. In all seriousness, unless you are going to become a professor, and I do get the appeal of being a professor. You get to set your own schedule. It could be, in the evening. Maybe you're not a morning person. You can work in the mornings or whatever you want. You get tenure, which means that they basically can't fire you, even if you go and harass a student or whatever else. Like, I got tenure. I can do whatever I want. And it's generally a pretty chill job. Don't get me wrong, almost nobody respects you for it, but I can see the appeal of professors. Speaking of, that actually leads me perfectly to the next thing that is on this list, which is that you should never, ever get a degree in entrepreneurship. You know what that makes you? A fraud.
I shouldn't have done it, but I said, you know what, I'll never do it again.
I took an entrepreneurship class in college once, and I remember sitting there on the first day, and someone asked him, what businesses have you started? And the answer was, I've never started a business. I've only studied other business owners.
I want to be like you.
I've started 4 companies now. It's all about just getting in the trenches and actually just doing it. There is no classroom theory that will actually teach you how to be an entrepreneur, because the reality of being an entrepreneur is that you just fly by the seat of your pants. You constantly figure things out. There's no degree to just figure stuff out. The sky is burning, and you can't get that in a college degree. Now, of course, you could learn some useful things like how to read a P&L, but here's the catch. As you become a business owner and your business grows, you will find that most accountants don't actually know what they are doing. So you might hire an accounting firm, you might pay them a significant amount of money, and yet their entire P&L will be full of stuff in categories that your business doesn't actually need. For example, if you are a completely remote marketing company, you don't need a category for furniture under $200, and furniture over $3,000, and whatever other insane things they put in. Even as an entrepreneur, you hire an accountant, and a lot of the times you get templated junk that does not actually serve the purpose of your business, and you have to, you know what I'm going to say, figure it out. You have to go and build your own accounting structure and figure out your own categories, and you have to do it yourself because there was no classroom that taught you how to do this perfectly. That is the reality of being an entrepreneur.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Crap, I forgot how many I've done. The 5th. Wait a minute. Culinary arts, photography, religious studies, entrepreneurship. The 5th.
can't even count to 10.
Anything involving the theater. Why? Because anyone who actually wants to make a career as an actor goes to the City of Angels, Los Angeles. Yeah, everybody who ever makes it and makes any decent money in an industry like that goes to Los Angeles, or I guess maybe goes to Broadway. I'm sure there will be some snob in the comments that says like, oh, Kyle, you unsophisticated tool. The theater is not the same as Hollywood. We are a much more diverse and sophisticated lot. And to that I say, I'm probably a lot richer than you. Take your opinion and shut up.
You better watch your tongue, young man.
So I lived in Los Angeles for a few years, and I saw the dreams of many, many people die on a couch in there. Not that couch, not a black couch, not that. Die on a couch that they're sleeping on of a friend. So you know what I mean. Someone from the Midwest moves from Michigan to pursue their career of being an actor, or they move to Broadway and they live in New York City and they live in the slums to pursue their career on Broadway. And what do? They serve food.
Another big tip. I think it's my smile.
That's usually what ends up happening. And then after 10 years, they give up and they go either keep serving food, or they go and they work usually as like an HR person. And usually in those industries, to get to the way to the top, you have to get on a different kind of couch, if you get what I'm saying here. And you don't need a degree for that. you can just go make an OnlyFans. Number 4, anything to do with writing, journalism, creative writing, whatever else. This is one of those things that you either have it or you don't. People are either going to read your stuff or they are not going to care. And I know because I had a blog, Dating Niche, that did over 1 million views a year. So I know what it's like to actually be a talented enough writer to actually get the eyeballs and support yourself.
Actually what?
You don't need a degree to do that. And honestly, the most lucrative writing careers these days is pretty much working for yourself and doing it on some sort of media. And you don't need a degree to do that. I don't think anyone cares if you actually have a journalism degree. It's like, can you tell a good story? Honestly, no purpose whatsoever in getting any degree that has anything to do with that unless you want to end up
broke and miserable.
Number 3 on the list, and I actually got an A+ in this class, is philosophy. What do you possibly do with a philosophy degree? I cannot think of a single thing other than being a professor. You just philosophize about how the world is. I don't even know if I'm saying that word properly. And I'm not saying that there's not great philosophers in the world that have put brilliant words down onto paper.
But not me.
You're just going to read those same books. You can just read the books without paying $150,000 for it. And then you can actually go and study something that's useful and contributes to society so that you can actually make money.
Actually, good advice.
Now, are degrees even necessary in general? Probably we'll have a future video about that, but for a lot of them, it's really, really not. Newsflash.
Major breaking news.
I have an economics degree and I ended up becoming a data systems engineer, and now I own a business. And my business path has been a dating and lifestyle blog, to niche websites, to an olive oil company, to a recruiting company, to an education company. So it's not like I took some traditional path. It's not like I ever used my economics degree. And like I said, I took some accounting classes. And you know what that did for my entrepreneurship career? Absolutely nothing. Most of what happens at college is just getting a piece of paper and getting the socialization and getting to live away from home if you're in America, and getting to drink a lot if you're in America, and having the whole fraternity or sorority experience. But you know what? To spend a couple $100,000 with the prospect of then making 30, and you know, this is math from a few years ago, but like $100,000 is nothing these days. Everyone used to be so impressed if you made 6 figures, and now that's like the same as making 50K a couple years ago, 60K. Like it doesn't mean anything. Like you need to make sure that you're getting an actual ROI on your investment, especially if that investment is going to take 4, 5, depending on how gifted or not gifted you are, years of your life. Those are prime years. 18 to 23, those are prime years. Energy, potential, drive, those are prime years, and they could potentially just be robbed from you.
Everybody be cool, this is a robbery!
Number 2 is the favorite degree of all athletes who are too busy or simply not intelligent enough to study anything that is more sophisticated or difficult. Sociology. Like, what do you do with that?
Useless.
You go and you work in an office and you push papers, or you work in HR and you cause people problems. That's pretty much all you do with it. There is a reason all the athletes that have an IQ of about 80 in some cases end up studying that. It's because it's the easiest thing, and they just need to get a degree so that they can keep their scholarship, so that they can, wash out of the NBA or the NFL.
How strong are you?
I remember when I went to school, you'd see the starting lineup, go to the basketball game, you'd see the starting lineup there, be like, so-and-so, major sociology, so-and-so, major sociology, so-and-so, major social sciences. Just whole starting five would be nothing but social science and sociology. I'm willing to bet none of actually, one or two of them might have made the NBA, but probably the rest of them are not making as much as they would have been in the NBA. And that's one of those things. It's like, if you are just on that cusp of potential, like I get it, trying to make it to the big times, I really do. But at the end of the day, most people are not going to make it. And you got to have some backup plan that doesn't involve you, scooping French fries at McDonald's. And finally, the number one most useless degree is liberal arts. Like, what does that actually do for you? Can any of you even tell me what a liberal art is?
Anyone? You? Anyone? You?
Art subjects such as literature and history as distinct from science and technology. So if you can't even define what a liberal art is, perhaps it's not something that you should study.
He's right,
I remember
Very funny.
a few years ago, back when I was in my young troublemaking stage of life and wanted to stir the pot on social media, I went and tweeted something that said, ladies, it's better for you to learn how to cook a lasagna than to get a liberal arts degree. And I think it did like 10 million impressions. I had the whole mob after me. They were all so pissed, all the social justice warriors. So almost 10 years later, like the reality is, what are you going to do with that degree? You're just going to be like every other person applying for the same office jobs. And a lot of those times, like those office jobs are just made up positions. Like a lot of companies, like what do you really need an HR department for in a lot of cases? An engineer at a company, engineering things that will be sold.
No shit.
He's producing value. No matter whether that's a design, whether that's maybe an engineer who actually assembles things like a machinist, there is value being produced. The HR department does not produce anything. They might be necessary, they might be somewhat essential, but they don't produce anything. They are not making a product that adds to the company's revenue. They have a function, but they do not produce anything the way that an engineer does, for example. And that's where you really need to start looking at the degrees and saying, what is actually producing something that adds value to companies? Because the first thing that happens during a recession, or if a company is just not doing very well, is they start cutting the stuff that's not essential.
You don't need this.
And obviously they need an HR department on some level if they're going to fire everybody, because HR has to handle that. So HR might be the last person, but it's the last person. It's not, they get rid of most of the department, then one person's left to do all the shitty job of firing everybody.
I'm the bad guy.
Avoid these 10 degrees. If you actually want to have a lucrative career, and you actually want to make money, and you want to actually be able to save money, and you do not want to work and just be struggling the rest of your life, avoid getting these 10 degrees. In the future, we will make a video about the 10 degrees that you should get if you actually want to have long-term success in your career.
I actually like you for once.
My name's Kyle Mao. You've been watching our work. See you next time.